Hi, I'm Ryan, your host for the Toast, and if you found this footage, that means this has now become found footage and belongs on this list of 20 obscure found footage movies that are worth checking out. Enjoy! So just to be clear, found footage movie is basically footage that has been found. Camcorders, phones, surveillance cameras, any kind of first-hand footage. So they're supposedly found and compiled and presented to you as a full movie. So found footage movies are usually all horror movies because it's easy and cheap to make a horror movie and you don't have to film like a big CG monster or anything. All the scary stuff that takes up the budget is always off-screen or chasing the person with the camera or out of focus or in the dark or just somewhere with sounds. So it's really easy to make horror. And it can be pretty effective. Now my friends and I find found footage horror movies almost every week, and regardless if they're good or bad, most of the time they're very bad. Now filmmakers think they're easy to make, and they are, but it still takes some skill to pull one off and may not make it look like an amateur video. Now this genre is big. There's 5 full pages on IMDb, so I'm gonna narrow it down to 20. Now the 20 I've picked aren't big theatrical release ones like Cloverfield or Devil's Due or even Troll Hunter, although I do have to recommend Troll Hunter is one of the best. Instead I'm gonna do the obscure found footage movies, the ones that are really hard to find. Now my chums and I have waded through a lot of these found footage horror movies, and I gotta tell you, some of them aren't half bad. These ones especially. I'm not trying to say these are the best movies in the world, but they are damn entertaining or have some stellar ideas or deal with subject matter that you just don't see. Now this list is in no particular order, and keep in mind I can't include stuff that I haven't seen, so if you've seen this amazing found footage horror movie and it's not on this list, it's probably because I haven't seen it. Alright, here we go. Grave Encounters. Now I'm going to start off with Grave Encounters, not because it's actually that good, it's because it was the first one my friends and I sat down to watch, and it started this whole thing. And you know what, as haunted asylum movies go, it's not that bad. The premise of this movie is about a bunch of ghost hunters that actually don't believe in ghosts, and they go in and get picked off by a bunch of malevolent spirits. Europa Report. This is probably the biggest budget movie on this list, and I'm already breaking the rules of this list by including it. But it's definitely worth a look, especially if you like the NASA science-y kind of stuff. And this is space horror. A bunch of astronauts visit Jupiter's moon Europa looking for life under the surface. And hilarity ensues. VHS. Now if you're familiar with the found footage genre, you know VHS and its sequels. If you want a bunch of short found footage horror just lumped in together, this is what you're looking for. Unfortunately, it makes a movie as a whole very disjointed, and some of them fall a lot flat, but there are 1 or 2 stories in these things that worth checking out. As above, so below. Yes, this is another theatrical release, I know, and I'm breaking the rules of the list again, but whatever, it's my list, I can do it. Premise really good. Bunch of kids going in underground under Paris in the catacombs and start having flashbacks of their own personal lives and personal trauma and tormented by malevolent... I've already used the word malevolent, haven't I? I need another word. Scary spirits, and eventually the only way to escape this torment is to literally go through hell. The Pyramid. Now I was really excited to see about The Pyramid. Again, another high... I'm starting off with all the higher budget ones, I don't know why. The Pyramid was quite unique. You don't see anything Egyptian nowadays. And the trailer for this movie blew my mind when they found a new pyramid, and the whole fact that it only had 3 sides made it really creepy to me. So a bunch of archaeologists go and check this pyramid out, quickly get lost, and then are hunted by... I don't want to spoil it for you, but let's just say something big. Chernobyl Diaries. And Chernobyl Diaries, again, higher budget but kind of overlooked. A bunch of extreme tourists want to check out a place that tourists aren't allowed to go, so they go to the abandoned city of Pripyat. Now they get there, they're tormented by radiation, dogs, and of course, mutants. Mainly I want to include this one on my list because we watched this one early on in our found footage careers, and this is what started There's Always a Bear. Spoiler, there's a bear. And it's a really unexpected bear. Everyone's quiet, you're hearing noises, you think, oh, what's that? Is that a mutant? Is that a ghost? No, it's a bear. Now this next one I'd like to present an award for the best stealth RV in a motion picture. And the winner is... Crow's Nest. Now, Crow's Nest is a great little movie. It's the same premise as a group of friends go out in the woods and find abandoned shit and scary things, but this one does things a little differently because I think the villains, it's not quite explained, but they're just a bunch of kind of horrible cannibal people in an RV. The reason I'm a little confused is because it's almost like supernatural how good these guys are at creeping up on you in an RV, but this movie has some of the most disturbing death scenes. I mean, it's not like they're gory. The one that sticks out in my mind happens off camera. He gets decapitated off screen by like a rusty hacksaw. So, you know, it's a slow going job. And when that blade's going through his neck, favorite line from that movie, my hand fell off! Now these next few are going to deal with the same subject matter, which is of course Sasquatch, or some call him Yeti. Bigfoot the Lost Coast Tapes. Now this is probably the highest budget of the Bigfoot found footage movies on this list, and most of that budget, believe it or not, doesn't go towards Bigfoot. This is a really cool Bigfoot movie because the documentary crew finds this guy who's supposedly killed and captured a Bigfoot. Should really say captured and killed. Or did he just find a body? I know it was a while since I watched it. Anyway, his cabin in the woods is basically a bunker now against Bigfoot, who are just harassing him. Then you find out they might not be harassing him, they might actually be helping him, and forest demons exists. Now, exists is another very basic premise one. Group of friends go and find a cabin in the woods. Oh, and guess what? There's Bigfoot. But this one starts out with them actually hitting Bigfoot with their car, giving the Sasquatch a reason to harass them. Plus, you get to see Bigfoot a lot more in this film. I mean, yes, it's still shaky first-person camera and everything, but, you know, at least you get to see him in the daylight. Next up, a few more with something in common, or should I say, someone. Frankenstein's army. Now, if you've ever wanted to see what Dr. Victor Frankenstein could pull off with the resources of the Nazi party, then this is a movie for you. Seriously, this is a really fun time of a movie. Set in World War II, the Russians find a secret Nazi lab where Victor Frankenstein has been creating Nazi monstrosities out of, like, airplane engines and shit. I'm not kidding, it's like a Frankenstein Nazi with a freaking airplane propeller in his chest. I mean, most of these monsters aren't too threatening because they're, you know, they're hodgepodge monsters that can't really move around very fast, but they're still beautiful to look at. That's what I really enjoy about this film. The art department of this film got to go, wow, we get to make cool Frankenstein monsters that are actually made by Frankenstein. Nazi Frankenstein, what more can I say? If that tickles your fancy, then go watch this damn movie. The Frankenstein Theory. This one is good. Maybe it's just me, I like snowy, isolated, desolate settings, but this one definitely does the job. A little different than a group of friends lost in the woods this time. This time it's actually researchers going out there and with a theory. This Frankenstein theory. The theory that Dr. Frankenstein's monster is still alive today, and it's living out there in the frozen north. Yeah, indeed, he's still walking around out there. I mean, it leaves you guessing if it is him or not, but it's pretty much him. To have a modern fan footage movie harken back to classic literature, and Frankenstein no less, oh, bliss. Okay, let's talk demons. Now, a lot of found footage movies deal with ghosts and demons and exorcisms because they're easy to pull off in the low budget. The Atticus Institute. Now, The Atticus Institute is a really good found footage horror movie. It's got some great actors, it's got a decent premise, and, you know, it keeps you in suspense the entire time. Basically, it's about this lady who's thought to be a telekinetic, so they take her in to run all these tests and that, and it turns out, oh no, she's not, she's just possessed. What I really like about this one is it's presented like a completed documentary, even with commentary and with interviews at the end, and all the footage you see is test footage and surveillance. When the big twist happens and she turns out to be possessed by a demon, you know, they handle it scientifically, like in the research center like they would. Afflicted. I didn't know what to expect when I went into Afflicted. I thought it was some kind of just disease-ridden guy movie, and then it turned out to be sexually transmitted vampirism. So it's a first-hand documentation of a guy turning into a vampire. And the best part of the whole thing is he straps on a GoPro when he goes feral, and it turns into GoPro Vampire. Now, there has been another movie, I think it might have been a VHS movie, I'm not sure, where they had like a GoPro zombie, but this one, GoPro Vampire, they're a lot more dynamic. They can leap around and attack people a bit, and a zombie goes like stumbling around. So yeah, GoPro Vampire, check it out. The Taking of Deborah Logan. Now, this movie is probably one of the best movies on this list. It's in the same vein as Babadook. Now, go check out that movie, that one's awesome. But not found footage, so it doesn't belong on this list. As in, it deals with mental illness, in this case, Alzheimer's. Now, the main girl is doing a thesis on Alzheimer's, so she's documenting the process with the subject, Deborah Logan. Now, Deborah quickly progresses, although I guess it would be degresses, into severe bouts of forgetfulness, anxiety, and downright violence. Now, you don't expect an older person to be that threatening, but when they're losing their mind and they're becoming unpredictable, and especially wielding a knife, yeah, they're threatening. Now, throughout the movie, she gets worse and worse, and eventually you find out there's a whole kind of sub-story of a murder thing, or an occult thing, and then you find out, oh, maybe it's not Alzheimer's, maybe she's possessed. But there's a reason for this possession. Things like the prey on the old and the infirm and not right in the head. So a patient with Alzheimer's is the perfect candidate. Now, this movie does get creepier and creepier as she turns more demonic and more threatening throughout the movie, but really the creepiest parts is the self-harm. Yes, the self-harm, it's not like she's cutting herself or anything on purpose, but because she's losing her mind, she does things and she starts ripping things and it's nasty. That's the stuff that really gets under your skin, no pun intended. And I've got to give credit to the actress who played Deborah Logan, because she is good. She pulled it off. Not only psychologically, like with the eyes and the staring and the creepiness, but physically, like she was a spry old lady. The only other thing I will say about this movie, apart from go see it, because it's really, really good, is it was kind of a melting pot for a couple of really cool ideas that they fit, but they're loosely fit. I'm not going to complain, like the bit when she jumps up on the counter and of course the end scene, which I'm not going to spoil it too much, but I guess you get it by me going like that. Again, it doesn't make sense in the long run, but otherwise I think they put it in there just because it was creepy as shit. All in all, it's great when a horror movie, especially a found footage movie, can use a subject like mental illness and really bring a spotlight on it and turn it into something a bit more horrific. The Sacrament. Now, the Sacrament's a bit of an oddball one on this list. It doesn't deal with Bigfoot, doesn't deal with aliens, doesn't deal with demons. It's more of a real-life horror. Basically, this movie is about a team of reporters that go and infiltrate a cult. As soon as you hear the word cult, you associate it with brainwashing and mass suicides, and guess what? That's exactly what this one is. But you don't often get to see a movie which is meant to be a camera inside the facility, looking at how these people live, and even hearing the people in the cult try and justify their way of life. It makes you so angry and want to yell at the screen about these people and how brainwashed they are, but you know, that's the scary part of it, is these people can be brainwashed. The cult leader himself is very well-mannered. He knows what to say in the right situation, and especially in the interviews. Yeah, you know, because he's the head of this cult, that he's threatening and manipulative. And yeah, the movie goes in the direction you think it's going to go. I mean, it has to. I mean, it's supposed to be a cult documentary from a movie. And, but it's full of some, there were some very disturbing, again, death scenes, which totally caught me off guard, because they're not hugely violent, but they're so personal and so disturbingly real. The most disturbing part of the movie still is the whole cult mentality that's going on, and this really happens in the real world. That's the scary thing. Alien abduction. Do we even need to explain what this movie's about? I think the title says it all. Okay, I'll tell you a bit more about it. It's about families who go away for the weekend, go camping, see some lights in the sky, and weird shit goes down. They find a road full of empty cars and, like, no one about, and then, oh, they see someone at the other end of the tunnel. Oh, what's that? Oh, that's kind of a weird skinny person. Oh, that's an alien. I don't want to say this is a basic premise, because, you know, the characters do go on a little adventure through the woods and find a cabin with, like, a hillbilly guy who's trying to defend them as well and knows a bit more about the aliens. But it's all about the chase. And this one does give a good chase. I mean, again, it's another melting pot for all the kind of weird alien abduction-y stories that you see in movies, like people getting whizzed up in the air, birds falling out of the sky. But, you know, this is one of the better ones. Also, the last shot in this movie is really fun. It's basically the camera dropped from the spaceship in space and it just falls down to Earth and lands, and that's where it's found, and it's found footage. Skinwalker Ranch. Don't know how to describe Skinwalker Ranch. It's true. It's based on a real place, where real weird shit goes down. It kind of starts off like, you know, the basic documentary crew wanting to film this weird occurrences in this ranch, and turns into alien stuff, then turns into extra-dimensional stuff, and then turns into werewolf stuff, and then back to alien stuff, and yeah, it's kind of confusing what's going on, but it's entertaining, well-made, and well-executed, so I recommend it. Plus, Skinwalker Ranch and Taking a Deborah Logan also have characters that just bail on the situation. I love that someone actually has the sense to be like, nope, shit's got weird, I'm out. Hangar 10. Hangar 10 is a British-made movie, so if you like British accents, you're going to like this one. Basically, this is about a bunch of treasure hunters out in the woods with metal detectors and trespassing in areas where they're not supposed to be. They see some weird things in the sky, storms, their metal detectors kind of go crazy, and then they find a secret military base with a bunch of aliens. What more can I say? It's pretty tense when they're walking around the woods, and when they find a bunker full of alien spaceships. You know, it's pretty good. Pretty basic, but it fills your need for a found-footage horror alien movie. Area 407. Now, this is one of the lower-end, less polished found-footage movies on this list, but I gotta admit, the opening premise is pretty good. It deals with the plane crash in the middle of nowhere, and the survivors are getting picked off by something in the darkness. Things looking in the darkness like to pick people off, what can I say? Anyway, so they wander around a lot. The movie gets very, very basic, just shaky cam, following people around, screaming, oh, this thing's chasing us. But when those things turn out to be dinosaurs, okay, it's that type of movie. And if you can laugh at the premise of that, I mean, it's a good time. Not all these movies are grand. Some of them you just watch and you go like, oh, he went there. That's fun. Now I'm going to finish this list with the movie Evidence. Not because it's the best movie, not because it's the worst movie, but it's the most unique movie. Now Evidence, again, not very polished movie. It kind of feels very amateur, but it's got grand dreams. Now, we started off with Evidence thinking it was just another, you know, Friends Lost in the Woods, and we thought it was a Bigfoot movie at first, because there's these things in big hairy monsters walking around the woods, but then it turns into something else. The monsters basically chase them around, and they find this kind of facility, this abandoned facility place, and the monsters turn out to be kind of things in ghillie suits, of all things. And then they get into this facility, and then just all hell breaks loose. It goes crazy. They find, like, soldiers with bodies with parasites, and then the zombies, like, attack them, and then soldiers show up, and then it basically turns into Half-Life. If you want to see a movie version of Half-Life, go see Evidence. As kind of cheesy as this movie was, I gotta give it respect for what it tried to do. Okay, I have a bonus entry to make on this list. It's not a movie that's out yet, but I've been waiting for it for, like, several years now, and it's called The Gracefield Incident. It's a Canadian-made movie. And from the trailers, if you go check out the trailer online, it looks pretty badass. Thing falls out of the sky into the woods, and a bunch of friends go check it out and you know, mess around with aliens. This one looks like really, really well done. It looks suspenseful, it looks well made, it's got good graphics, and the creepy hands coming out of the darkness. I mean, I really want to see this movie, and they've kept pushing it back and pushing it back. So if you can support this movie and get it out, please do. Okay, that's my list for 20 under-the-radar found footage horror movies that are definitely worth a watch. And my throat is getting hoarse, so I'm going to finish this up. Cheers. I think I found some footage. Oh, I could chop this up and release it theatrically and make millions. Or just release it on the internet for a bunch of friends to make fun of it every week.